Holy crab apples, party peoples of the interwebs. It's what, 7:30? And I think closing arguments are still going on. Last I checked with @InnerCityPress on Twitter. All right, I'm going to give the rundown of the closing arguments in the Trump New York bogus persecution of a trial. They're still going on because the prosecution is ham-handedly employing the tactic of baffle them with bullshit. There's the old expression, when you're strong in the law, pound on the law. When you're strong on the facts, pound on the facts. And when you're strong in neither, pound on the table. Well, we are at that stage where the prosecution, having seen this entire case fall apart at the seams, their two-star witnesses, Stormy Daniels, and the convicted perjurer, man who is seemingly incapable of telling the truth, Michael Cohen. Well, now that their two-star witnesses have been utterly eviscerated, devastated on the stand, they've got to come and baffle the jury with bullshit because they are still now in their closing arguments, and it's been going on for 4+ hours. I mean, it is so bad that Trump had a one-word response that has gone viral, and rightly so: boring. Boring. Now, I'm not going to go over the thorough, meticulous, seemingly endless live tweeting coming from @InnerCityPress. I'll just give the highlights of what I think are the highlights of the day. The defense, for some reason, started its closing arguments first, and the prosecution gets the last word. And I've got to tell you this, you have to appreciate this. The prosecution gets the last word when we still, as of now, do not yet know what the underlying crime was of this prosecution. And somehow the defense goes first, the prosecution gets the last word, and I guess in their last word are going to specify what the underlying crime was that bumped this otherwise misdemeanor up into a 34-count felony indictment that could land Trump in jail for 180 years. Oh yeah, and speaking of Trump and potential jail time, Trump's attorney BullSh was reprimanded by the judge. I guess that's one of the highlights of the day. The other highlight will come at the end of this vlog, and that highlight is of the loser Robert De Niro giving an impassioned speech outside the courthouse. We'll get there. There's nothing braver, by the way, than insulting and verbally abusing a gagged defendant. Congratulations, Robert De Niro. You're a piece of crap. But yeah, the highlight of the day was Trump's attorney BullSh saying to the jury that this risks putting Donald Trump in jail, and apparently in criminal cases, you're not allowed mentioning to the jury that a conviction risks putting the defendant in jail. And Judge Merchan, the totally not corrupt judge whose daughter is totally not making millions of dollars hands over fist of this prosecution, who totally hasn't been systematically sustaining all of the prosecution's objections and overruling all of the defense objections. And I'll get there because there were a ton of them in closing arguments, which really seems bizarre to me in the first place. The totally not corrupt Judge Merchan reprimanded BullSh like you've never seen, and I'll get to that highlight right now, actually. But wait, there's more. Justice Merchan, your comment about President Trump facing jail was outrageous. I will give curative instruction. I will see you at 2. That's what the judge said before lunch, so it's sort of out of chronological order. I'll just go over the highlights of the defense in their closing arguments. They have an easier time as far as I'm concerned because I thoroughly and firmly believe, understand, and think that anyone with half a brain has to understand that this prosecution is utter horse crap. I still think that Trump is going to get convicted because I think this is a joke of a trial. I hope my prediction is wrong, and spoiler alert, my predictions usually are wrong, but this is a load of crap. Judicial dog poop is what this trial is, but here are some of the highlights from the defense in their closing arguments. @InnerCityPress, Trump's lawyer BullSh, what makes more sense, that President Trump was paying his personal lawyer $35,000 or that Michael Cohen would work for free without telling anyone? In life, usually the simplest answer is the right one. Cohen lied. Now, the defense obviously and predictably came down hard on Cohen lying because Cohen lies. In fact, it seems that he's incapable of telling the truth. I made a joke on Twitter, or X as it is now known, that every reference to Michael Cohen should end with convicted perjurer, pathological liar. But recall that Cohen's testimony was that he was getting paid $35,000 a month as a retainer, but he wasn't actually doing any legal work for Donald Trump, except that he testified he was doing a small amount of legal work for Donald Trump, but that payment was actually the disguised payment reimbursement to Stormy Daniels. And the defense comes up and says, look, this guy is a liar working for free without telling anybody. Bottom line, he wasn't working for free. He was being paid to be the fixer, and he was billing for it, and he was being paid for it, and that was what the payments were for. The retainer, the legal retainer to Michael Cohen, not what he now says is the case, that he was actually not doing any work, and all of those retainer payments were actually the disguised payments to Stormy Daniels. Oh yeah, the disguised payments out of which Michael Cohen also stole $30,000. Trump's lawyers BullSh, the red finch is absolutely a lie. The gross it up is a lie. Cohen told you he had no idea and that he didn't even care. The government is going to suggest some sort of tax scheme, but there's been no proof, not even testimony from Mr. Cohen. Because recall, Michael Cohen is saying those payments to me were actually Trump surreptitiously, secretly disguising the reimbursement to Stormy Daniels, except Michael Cohen stole $30,000 out of that payment structure. So he's suggesting that Trump approved the repayment to Stormy Daniels while he was simultaneously stealing from that money, as if Trump would say, okay, go ahead and steal from me. I'm okay with it. And it's not creative editorializing. Cohen admitted he stole $30,000 by not remitting to Red Finch the $50,000 that Trump gave him. So Cohen is basically saying, yes, Trump authorized this entire payment structure from which I was stealing, that he also authorized somehow. But now we're going to get into the judge's systematic bias in sustaining all of the prosecution's objections during closing arguments. For those of you who don't know, it's not typical, it's not very frequent that you'll get this many objections during closing arguments. But my goodness, pay attention. The judge sustains each and every single objection raised by the prosecution in closing arguments and overrules each and every one of the objections raised by the defense against the prosecution. Trump's BullSh. Mr. Pecker told you he did it for Arnold Schwarzenegger. No charges were brought. He did it for Rahm Emanuel in an Illinois election. No claims that laws were broken. That's why prosecution objection, Justice Merchan sustained. We can't have any evidence of Rahm Emanuel having done exactly what Trump did, but no charges brought against Rahm Emanuel, no charges brought against Schwarzenegger. Objection sustained. So defense ends on their 10 points why you need to acquit Donald Trump, or 10 reasons for which there is obviously reasonable doubt, because this is a criminal case and it's a good 10 points. You should go check it out, but they're obvious. And then we get into the prosecution, who has to get ahead of the curve as relates to dealing with their pathological liar star witness Michael Cohen. And don't worry, they get right ahead of it and deal with that in the opening of their closing statements. That's kind of a paradox. You know what I mean. Prosecutor, he says Cohen stole from the Trump org. I'll call it the TO. Cohen laid out $20,000, but allowed Weisselberg to write $50,000. That was wrong. That's stealing. We admit it. But after doing 3 years, he said he's paid the price. It's not a defense. Notice the pathological way of absolving Michael Cohen of responsibility. He allowed Weisselberg to pay him $50,000, and then he stole $30,000. That was wrong. He admits it. But trust him as relates to his theory of the case, because his testimony is the only testimony that could allow anybody to come to the conclusion that Trump actually directed these payments to Stormy Daniels to conceal those payments, because that is the linchpin of the theory of this case, because there's no documentary evidence to it other than the fact that the monies were paid. Michael Cohen says, Trump directed me to do it, and they say, yeah, he stole. Yeah, that was wrong. But trust him now. And then we get into the asymmetrical, disparate treatment as relates to objections and whether or not they are sustained or overruled. Prosecutor, the defense tried to imply AMI admitted to campaign finance violations because they were trying to close a second deal. Trump's lawyer BullSh. Objection. Justice Merchan. Overruled. Prosecutor, the FBI had already downloaded from Cohen's phone, including his recordings of the defendant. Trump lawyer BullSh. Objection. Justice Merchan. Overruled. Prosecutor, the defendant wrote, I tried to sign as many checks as possible. Hope Hicks put the nail in Mr. Trump and then cried, Trump's lawyer BullSh. Objection. Justice Merchan. Overruled. Prosecutor, here Cohen bragged he was going to deny the FEC complaint with a patently false statement. Trump's lawyer BullSh. Objection. Justice Merchan. Overruled. Prosecutor, this is about lying in business records, just like hundreds of cases before. Trump's lawyer BullSh. Objection. Justice Merchan. Overruled. Please approach. It is a load of crap. It is hashtag judicial dog poop. This is a show trial being run by a corrupt judge who is systematically overruling all of the defense objections and systematically sustaining all of the prosecution's objections so he can curate and tailor the evidence being adduced to this politically biased jury that I think is just looking for a reason to convict Trump. And I think they were still going as at the time I started shooting this vlog, but it is a case of baffle them with bullshit, or according to Donald Trump, boring. But wait, we cannot end this vlog without getting to the highlight of the day. That is the brave, the stunning and brave Robert De Niro getting in front of the court and calling Trump all the names under the sun. I'm not going to play the entire 8+ minute tirade, just one clip, and then I'm going to remind everybody of one thing.
On January 6th, while Republican lawmakers despicably tried to keep the loser Trump, in the White House, and Trump-inspired insurrectionists stormed the Capitol, brave men and women from law enforcement put their lives on the line to defend this country, our democracy. They are the true heroes. These guys are the true heroes. They stood and put their lives on the line for these lowlives, for Trump.
They lied under oath.
They lied under oath.
Right.
Who lied under oath? What are you telling me?
Those two traitors behind you.
Excuse me?
Those two traitors behind you.
They lied under oath?
That's right.
What are you saying?
They're traitors.
They're traitors. You gotta, I don't know, I don't even know how to deal with you, my friend. I don't even know how to deal with you. They stood there. They didn't have to. And there were other ones in there who probably were in with them a little bit too, and they found a way to get around. Not these guys. They stood there and fought for us, for you. For you.
They weren't fighting for me.
No, they fought for you, buddy. You're able to stand right here now.
So yeah, that's Robert De Niro with some choice words for Donald Trump, because Robert De Niro is the ultimate judge of character, and I'm sitting there thinking, isn't that the same Robert De Niro piece of shit whose company was ordered to pay $1.2 million to a female employee based on sexual discrimination as a result of sexist comments Robert De Niro made to that employee? Why, yes, it is the same Robert De Niro. From Rolling Stone, Robert De Niro's company to pay $1.2 million to ex-assistant in gender discrimination suit. Graham Chase Robinson accused the actor of sexist comments and conduct towards her. Yeah, that piece of rubbish scumbag Robert De Niro, he is best placed to judge Donald Trump's character. It's a load of crap. It's outrageous. This is a case of bring me the man, I will find you the crime, Lavrenta Barria. It's communism in real time, in full force. But that is the latest. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like what I do, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification so you get notifications when my videos come up. And be sure to, when they come up, hit the thumbs up and drop a comment when you see new videos come, because it helps the algorithm. Viva Fry on Rumble, Viva Fry on Twitter, vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the best above average community out there. But most importantly, get out there, sunlight, exercise, eat healthy, talk to people in real life. Do not read the mainstream media or the legacy media unless it is to know what your enemy is saying. And now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps.
You are gangsters. You are gangsters.